So it's about 2 weeks later, and I've got the rear main seal. It's from a proper Peugeot dealer, so hopefully this one won't leak. And I've got a hot dog that I've got to put in because it's just way too loud. And the rear tail shaft needed unis, so while it's out, I'll chuck a couple of these in. And these are greasable. Now what I've been doing is, I've got my other gearbox here that I'm going to put in it, and this is my low K's gearbox, but it's out of a 96 model or 97 model, one of the two. But everyone on forums and whatnot says the transfer case out of the later ones are the same, but it's not the case. This one's actually a coarse spline, if you can see that, and it's got this coating on here. I'd say that's for vibration or something like that. So as you can see there, I did damage the end because some of the green coatings come off because I tried to just check that my yoke fitted on there, and that's how I found out. So, and here's you can see that's a fine spline, which is off my shorty Vitara, so I'll have to swap them over as I go. So that's the differences as far as I can see between my 88 model Vitara transfer case and this is a 97 or 96 model transfer case. So you might run into that problem if you go to the later gearbox. But this only has 100,000 on it, 120,000 on it, this gearbox. And you see, these get pretty common in here for these to wear, and you can see this one's still really good shape. I've seen some of these that have like a 3mm groove in it, which that's no good. You'd have to either put a new input shaft in there or something. So I'll put the bell housing back on and start putting the gearbox in, get the seal in and get it all happening. Before I always put this back, is I re-grease in here, in these joints, even though I only just did that when I swapped this over, but it doesn't hurt to always put a bit in there just to make it a bit smoother and stop the squeaking too. That's pretty frustrating when you push the clutch in every time and it squeaks. So I'll bolt this up and we'll get it in the car. This is just a bit of brake cleaner. I always just spray a bit on a rag. You don't have to do this, but I like to do this just to get any shit off. I'll do the same on the bell housing. Perfect. Now there's different length bolts here. The long ones go in the dowels. You don't have to, but it doesn't hurt just to zip around with these. Just check them all if the gearbox doesn't fall off the bench. So next I've got my throwout bearing here. I'll just wipe, you can see the groove in there. There's a little groove in there. See how there's old grease in there? You just want to pack, I wipe the old grease out and you want to pack new grease in there. Always start off by putting a bit on the shaft here. You probably don't need that much, but then where you see that lip in there, you just run your finger through like that and pack it till it's smooth. You can check it feels smooth, which it does. A little bit on the spline's alright, always helps it slip in. And just a little bit on that end shaft. And before you put it in, obviously you check your spigot bearing. When I first put the motor in, I put a seal in it, so to prevent this problem, but obviously it was a crook seal or something. Like sometimes you just get a crook seal and they leak and it gives you dramas. So I'll grab that, grab some Vaseline just to put on that seal, and I'll grab a clean rag that we can wipe the crank with and put it in. Lovely, just got dripped in oil. Check if there's any burrs or anything in there, but so I'm just putting some Vaseline on the seal, on the outer and inner. Not like that. Just want to give it some very light taps. I couldn't find my smaller hammer, so this big one I'll have to do. Oop. Just wipe off all the old oil. Put Loctite on each one. And we've got this set to 40 Newton meters. just set this by hand as I don't have a clutch alignment tool. I think that's it. So the gearbox is in. I didn't video it because it's actually a pain in the ass to put a gearbox in this, because I've got this steel bar there and then there's the steel bar there that we put in when we did the axle swap. It's millimeters in room in getting the gearbox up, so that's why I didn't video that. But I've got all the bell housing bolts in, they're all tight. I've just got to run this is my main battery or power wire here, which goes all the way back to the battery there. But I've got to run that over and put the reverse light switch wiring up and whatnot, and keep going at it. Now I always put a little bit of grease on me bolts, because being a full drive, going through the mud and the water makes it easier to get out. A little bit of grease. Figured our speedo wire. So you've got to line up the pin with the slot in the gearbox, otherwise it won't go in. Just like that. Push it on there. I don't know how well that's going to stave it. We want about 3 mil of play, so that's probably a bit. We'll go 10 more. We'll start with that anyway. Alright, that's done. Put a bit of brake cleaner on this rag. Wipe off all this oil. So that's the wiring done for there. So I went ahead and put all the transfer case gear stick and knob back on, and now it's time to put the gear stick in. So it's a good time to check this little bushing that goes in the top of the gearbox. That's what your gear stick locates in and shifts from there. And when these have excessive wear, that's when your gear stick's all sloppy. So mine's still in good nick. I'm just going to put some fresh grease in there. so it slides around a bit better. Make sure that shift linkage is in the center, as you can see there, and then this will slip straight in. And don't put it upside down because it can be a prick to get out. There you go. You can't really tell, but it's in there. And I like to just dunk the end in some grease. Probably a little bit much, but that's all right. There you go. So I've got the interior all back in and complete. Seats are in. All gear sticks work. So I've just been to the parts store and picked up the oils. The book specifies 75/90 for the gearbox and 80/90 for the transfer case and diffs, but I'd normally just put the 70/90 in both, but because it's a good gearbox, I'll just do what the book says. But before, I just used to make a mix-up of myself because the synchros were worn in the old one and I had crook bearings. I just put thicker stuff in, and if you couldn't shift it too hard, I'd put a bit thinner in. And so we'll jump under the car and put some fresh oil in it. I forgot my tripod, so I'm going to have to do this with one hand. Oil doesn't look too bad to me. You'll always get a little bit of gunk on the drain plug because obviously wear and tear on the gearbox. Just let that drain for a second. Now you don't have to, but I like to put just a little bit of Teflon around the drain plug because there's nothing more frustrating than putting fresh oil in it and the drain plug's leaking. So I only went round it twice, just a little bit. It doesn't need heaps. Just wipe off the excess. Now you can get these little pumps from Repco or Super Cheap or something. They're quite handy. And obviously you want to fill it till the oil starts dripping out. There you go, it's dripping out now. So that's full. Alright, that's done. Now to do the transfer case. Now I've already drained this when I first got it, so I'll just double check there's nothing in it. This is going to make a mess if there is. That's water in it from where I washed it. What I'll do is I'll just pump some oil through it just to make sure I get all the water. Oh, lovely. That fill plug looks quite rounded. I think that's got it.